The funding up here is positive. Obviously, a lot of groups have been set up that perhaps wouldn't have done without that funding. But there seems to be the worry is what's going to happen when the funding stops.
We've put a lot of work into applications for funding over these years, some of which have been successful, some of which haven't. And we've really seen the need to not be trying to ask other people for money.
Funding certainly helps. You know, it allows you to do things at a pace that you wouldn't have been able to do previously.
Funding is going to be a major issue for us. I think we have some very energetic people in our group who may well be able to find additional sources of funding elsewhere, but we are going to have to learn to be much more self-sufficient ourselves.
We've now got a project called Sustainable Ernal, where we do local food growing, local transport, and we also have a micro-hydro feasibility study sort of scheme going on at the moment. And the idea for that is to try and have a renewable energy source that would act as a community income.
There are people from around the city trying to set up a pilot project of having a local currency for Edinburgh, which may or may not be called Eddies. We're waiting to see that. But it's based on things like the Totnes pound, the Lewis pound, the Hoyk pound. And this will be an experiment, first of all, working with local traders and local people to see if we can get a local currency established.
Money is a bridge to a future that's not necessarily going to have money, but is going to have people contributing their work to be able to have sustainable production for the community. And we need to think about how the transition works through money, and it's working out what you can offer that people will pay for, but also what will people invest in. So asking people in the community, what will you invest in that will actually give you some return, some cash return, but will really build that transition to a sustainable future.
We're trying to create a vision of what a sustainable, vibrant local economy would look like in a low carbon future, and we see the regeneration of the high street as a vital part of that. So we have one group, the Dunbar Community Bakery Group, which is working hard to open a bakery producing bread on Dunbar High Street once again after the family bakery closed 2 years ago now. And similarly, our local fruit and veg and whole food shop, the Crunchy Carrot, which is now on the market, we're looking at how we can organise a community buyout of that and actually bring that into community ownership as a community asset.
The resilience is now happening through actually really on the ground events that are kind of self-sustaining in that way, so the market can become financially self-sustaining rather than requiring a huge volunteer effort. So I think that's the shift is from a focus on events to focusing on really productive activity, but it's certainly not focusing on carbon emissions. And resilience comes through shifting from that focus on carbon emissions to focusing on actually what do we need.
Historically, communities have been carved out of decision making by local government, by private organisations, by entrepreneurs, and I think what we want to do is take a community approach to being entrepreneurs.
But we see working closely together with our local authority is absolutely crucial, and we've made a point of trying to involve them from the start and seeing how we can help the local authority to deliver their own goals as well as encouraging them to help us to meet our goals.
One of the key things I think for me was that we just recently revised our environment strategy. It was very much a bottom-up process rather than the council saying, here's where we think the strategy is, can we consult on it? And that looked at food policy amongst other things. So it was more a bottom-up, I think, approach rather than a top-down, and that was really important for me that we took that forward because that gave us a framework for how the council operates in the next few years.
Call your friendly councillor, you go to one of these surgeries, but invite them maybe to your project and get them involved, get them seeing what your project does. Putting your energy into being proactive. It's good to protest, I'm there and I've been there, but it's good to be having people in those positions of as well. So I like to think I'm in that position where I can represent consultation with a big C, but more than consultation, to actually have communities engaged and be active in the whole sort of process of how things happen in their local community.
There are people across Scotland who step by step are creating the kind of world they want to live in on their doorstep. No one's given them permission, they're just getting on with the things that seem important to them. The transition approach helps them focus on the place they live and on using the passion and focused interest of local people to build self-reliance and resilience in their communities.
By getting that wonderful resource of the community to come together, all the ideas that the community have, getting them to feel actually responsible rather than waiting for somebody else to initiate from above. That feels to me to be very powerful. Growth from the bottom up.
We did our community survey and we had our 60% uptake in that, which was just amazing. So the community are really supportive, and I think they're looking for ways that they can improve how they live and live more sustainably.
As people get involved, they get less worried and they get more positive about the idea that they're also contributing to lower carbon.
About community engagement, if that is the central key for absolutely everything that we do. If we get this right, then people actually become interested in our projects.
What does the South Side look like in 5 years' time? A lot more connected communities, a lot more activities and action happening in whether it's individual streets. There's a lot of tenements on the South Side, and within a single tenement block you can have maybe 400 households within a block and a street. So they're almost like small villages themselves. So it's trying to inspire and motivate these people to take action.
We would have a whole string of community-owned housing and food growing and energy producing areas. Basically a network of community places which are showing that you can live in a sustainable in terms of energy, food and production.
My understanding of Sustaining Dunbar is that they kind of help the community and try and get them more environmentally aware and, as the name suggests, sustains Dunbar's economy.
It'll be easier for people to access land to grow food. It'll be easier for them to walk and cycle and use public transport. We'll have community-owned renewables in place, so we'll be having a sustainable income to fund our activities. And hopefully we'll have at least 2 community-owned and run shops on the high street.
Pedal can go forward as its own initiative and be self-funding in the future. I think there's enough creativity within this community, there's enough skills within Portobello to actually make that a reality.
Raising people's perception and awareness, that is a key factor. But the other side of it is, it's about having fun.
Communities are designing and working on projects for their future. Communities are looking at how they can become less dependent on money that's given to them and more self-sustaining. Communities are part of a network where they share ideas, experience and skills. This network is open to anyone and everyone who shares the vision of a future where people live and work in productive communities, who take care of one another and our shared natural resources.